everyone. Thank God the season is over because it could not have gotten more dull than it was getting. Nothing to play for the last few weeks, apart from the Port Vale game, which, to be fair, also delivered on. We're going to get straight in because we've got 3 planned sections, haven't we, Harley?
We have. We've thought about this one. We've done some good planning. So is it going to go to plan? Probably
No,
not,
it's not.
but we're going to try. We're going to try.
So we're going to go straight in with end of term report cards. So we've graded the club and the season and why. So Harley, what have you given and why?
So let's just be clear. Are we doing this A to F, or are we doing it like 1 to 10? How are we grading this?
No. Look, we're both not children, so we're going to do it as A to F, as it should be.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. I'd give it a D.
Ooh. Okay.
I don't think it's been the worst season I've ever seen. I think it just that 7-game loss streak really mired it.
Yeah.
I think that's what brings it down. I think it would have been an all right season, but it had a lot of potential with Taylor. There's been some really good games. Like, I've enjoyed this season. I mean, it's not been the best football wise, but there's been a lot of good moments, and I've had a lot of fun with it. So, I mean, for a personal perspective, I've enjoyed it, but I've not enjoyed the results.
I've gone with a C.
Okay.
Taking 6 points off Vale is always going to give you an extra few marks.
Absolutely.
I think the reason that I've given it a C rather than a D is based on Flynn and the old drain the swamp approach and the kind of cutthroat ruthlessness that he's sort of been showing. And I think it shows there's actually, at the end of this season, it's sort of ended on a bit of a brighter note that he knows what he needs to do now. He's tried a couple of things out, and it was now the time to do it. He's tried a couple of different formations by going at 4 at the back or 3 at the back. And yeah, I think overall it was sort of a work in progress kind of time under Flynn, which has kind of redeemed it slightly. Is my
opinion. I really do think that Pomlet has made some quite public mistakes, but I think it shows year on year he is learning. If you look at last season, the way it went from Darryl Clark leaving about the same time Matt Taylor did, he gave it to Brian Dutton, and then there was a lot of confusion over who was going to be the manager for this season. He's learned from it this year, and he's gone and got his man, and we feel a lot more comfortable. And I mean, we'll get onto it later potentially, but Flynn's already said that he's got 4 or 5 signings, over the line already. So there is that element
about
of it.
Who we think one of those might be.
So in that element, I think that is better.
I don't disagree with yours at all. I think just the sort of, even though, losing to Swindon, the comments of when we have lost games, the fact that he's kind of gone, this is where we're at, it's actually, I'm quite glad, because otherwise it'd give us quite a false, I like that realism. We're going to move straight on to the Sadler's News end of season awards.
Yes, we are. And I've got the categories here.
I can't even remember what I voted for. So,
well, don't you worry about it, because I've got it here and ready to go. So, award number 1, Defender of the Season.
Oh no!
The nominees I had down was Donovan Daniels, Manny Month, Carl Rushworth, and Hayden White. Rob, who was your pick?
I think I kind of saw Defender and went to hit. I think I went with Month purely because he'd been longer than Daniels. But then I was like, oh, Rushworth's there. I'm going with Rushworth.
Yeah, I feel like for that one, I couldn't have an individual award for goalkeeper of the year.
No.
Because Rose only played like 3 games.
I can't think a lot of people would have sarcastically voted Rose on that.
Yeah, so I threw him in there. But the winner of Defender of the Season, with 47% of the votes, drum roll please, Manny Month.
Interesting.
Which I think is a fair result, because I think he's had a really good season.
Yeah, I think if Daniels had been with us all season, he probably would have edged it. But I think Month kind of has shown throughout the season why the defense is stronger with him in it than him out of it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, moving on to the second award, we've got Midfielder of the Season. And the nominees are Osadibe, Kinsella, Earring, and Kiernan.
I mean,
so who have you gone for?
It's obviously going to be Kinsella, but I'd like to say that I think Osadibe is obviously going to always divide opinion, but I do think that Kiernan and Earring can hold their heads high at the end of this season. I think Earring, I mean, it was his 50th appearance recently. I mean, there's no way that he was expected to have played that many when he signed. I do not think he was signed to start that many or play in that many matches. And I think Kiernan has scored some good goals. He's been a tricky player for oppositions to deal with, but obviously Kinsella's Kinsella.
Now, it's interesting you say that. And I agree with you about Kiernan. I think he's had a pretty decent season. And I think he was a bright spark in a dull team under Matt Taylor. But poor old Brendan got 0% of the votes.
Oh, Brendan.
and his pal, Osadibe, only got 3%.
Wow.
Because it was a resounding win of 73% for Liam Kinsella.
Yeah. I mean,
deservedly so.
I think that's more a case of everyone favouring Kinsella rather than they're kind of hating on the other three.
Yeah. I do feel a bit bad for Kiernan, but
I do.
It was a hard category.
I do.
Now, the next award, Attacker of the Season. There's only three nominees for this.
I'm surprised you didn't put Kiernan in this category.
Well, there's a reason for that. It's because the nominees in this one were Connor Wilkinson, George Miller, and Tyree Shade. I was going to swap Shade and Kiernan round, but then I wasn't really sure. But I feel like Kiernan's played more in midfield, maybe, than Shade has.
Yeah.
So I tried to give both of them a fair kind of crack at where I think they've been. But who's your attacker of the season, Rob?
I think it's got to be Miller, because Wilkinson didn't play enough.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, obviously Wilkinson did really well, but he did well in like a short burst. He didn't start the season well. He had like a good run of games in the middle. I think over the course of the season, Miller's kind of we'll get onto this later.
yeah, because we've got some contrasting opinions when it comes to George Miller.
Yeah,
but this is an interesting one from you, Rob. George Miller only got 33% of the votes because it was another big win.
So Wilkinson.
It was Connor Wilkinson with 63%.
I mean, I don't disagree with it. I think if you're going off the season, Wilkinson had probably 10 games where he did well. I mean, I don't know how many he ended up playing throughout the season, but
I think he was more consistently good than George Miller. He just didn't play as much.
Yeah.
Now, we'll get in towards the back end of the awards. It's time for the Young Player of the Season. The nominees being Sam Perry, Jack Earring, and Carl Rushworth.
I think I went for Earring on this one for the reasons that I said previously.
Interesting. I think I would have probably gone Earring as well, but Earring didn't win. It was actually a closer one, this one was. So Perry got 6% of the votes, which I think it is what it is, because he probably should have played more than he did.
Yeah, and I think we'll get onto this as well in a bit.
Earring got 40% of the votes, so not bad, but it was Carl Rushworth with 54% of the votes who wins, which I think is fair.
Yeah.
I think both of them there's an argument for both of them to be that young player of the season.
Yeah.
But I can see why Rushworth's got it. The next one, we've got goal of the season.
Oh, well, I mean,
this one's a very easy one. There wasn't that many screamers this year, I won't lie, but I've tried to pick the 4 I thought were best. So the first one was Shade away at Sutton, the one where he's put it under the wall, free kick,
Good free kick.
The second one was Kiernan away at Vale.
Yeah,
it was a good finish, but I put that one in there because more it was just the kind of gravitas of the goal itself.
Also, I think it was a good bit of attacking play as well.
So I think that one might not have been technically the best, but the kind of the feeling around that goal, I've put it in there. The other one, the third one, was Osadibe versus Oldham at home.
To be fair,
when
that
he
was a
came
banger.
across, and it was an absolute rocket across the goal.
It was a banger.
But I think we all know where this is going.
Yeah.
So the fourth and final nomination was Connor Wilkinson versus Newport at home.
I mean, it was. If it was scored by a Premier League striker, I'm going to say if it's scored in League One or League Two, it would have made the EFL goal of the season competition. The fact that it's scored in League Two, the EFL don't even recognise it.
I mean, technically speaking, it's one of the best goals, definitely of the season, but one of the best goals I've ever seen.
Yeah,
because it was on his weak foot as well.
With your natural foot to flick it over a defender and then volley it first time on your right, pinging it top corner, is one of the best goals that was scored in League Two.
And I was there behind the goal and saw it live, and I can tell you it was absolutely wonderful, and there was a magnificent pitch invasion.
Yeah, No, it was a good effort from those 4 or 5 people, especially one who'd got his carrier bag from the club shop.
Now, I think we're on to the very last award. So what I've done for this one is player of the season. So I've taken the attacker of the season, the midfielder of the season, defender of the season, and young player of the season, and put them against each other.
Now, I'm going to, obviously, for me, Kinsella was the player of the season. He was the most consistent. But I'd like to give a big shout to Jack Earing for me for player of the season, because I think I think, like I said before, but considering when he came in, we both said an impact player off the bench, maybe looking to break into the squad. Considering what he's done, the variety of roles he's played for his first season in the FL, I think he does deserve a shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree with that 100%. Unfortunately, he didn't make it in.
No, but
we've got Connor Wilkinson, Liam Kinsella, Manny Month, and Carl Rushworth. Now, it's quite even for second place in this one, but there is a resounding winner, and we all know who it is. So I'll run you through. So with 10% of the votes was Carl Rushworth. With 11% of the votes, 11% of the votes, Manny Month. With 11% of the votes, Connor Wilkinson. So those two tied for second, but it was a resounding 68% for Liam Kinsella, and deservedly so. And I thought against Swindon, in a team that did struggle, he was absolutely magnificent.
Yeah.
That was one of the best displays I've seen from him this season, because he was everywhere. And he had a difficult role to play in that game as well.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that, in a result like that, he was still picked out by Flynn.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something that is rare after a 3-0 defeat, that he does kind of go, yeah, this player can hold their head up high. I thought they played incredibly well, and I was like, interesting. I thought it was very interesting. Because for me, I think with Labadie out, it will be Kinsella as captain.
Yeah.
And I think it's that sort of performance that shows why.
He's got that tenacity about him, that willingness to just keep running and running and running. He just never stops.
Of course.
And although the players did put in a good shift in that game, the result wasn't as good as it could have been. But the players, they did try.
Yeah,
I thought they've got nothing to play for in that respect. When Swindon had a lot to play for, but Kinsella he looked like he had more to play for than anyone on that pitch.
Yeah.
And that's all you can say about him, because he's that type of player.
So taking Kinsella out of it, who would be your kind of like alternate player of the season?
For me, because I'm quite a big fan of him, would be Manny Month. I said ages ago I was really excited when we signed him, because he was one of the players from last season that when we played against Tranmere, I said I really like him. Then we signed him, and he had a little bit of a shaky start, but he's been excellent, and it's no surprise to me that we've struggled when he hasn't been in the team.
Yeah,
I mean, those 7 games, he didn't play any of them.
Yeah. Right, so we're going to move on to the retain or release, and we're going to spice it up a little bit, a competition. Got a notepad with all the players. I've got a column that says H and a column that says R. We're going to say who we'd keep, or no, not who we'd keep, so we're going to do like a head and heart. So who we would keep, but we're going to say who will stay and who won't, and see who gets more right.
Okay, the production value never ceases to amaze me.
Look at how straight that line is. Oh. Anyway, so we'll go in at the top. We're going to go through the younger players first. So Joe Folks. For me, I think he's had a pretty decent loan spell at Kidderminster. I think it would be in the club's interest to keep him on for another season. So I'm going to say head and heart say that he'll stay.
Yeah, back that up completely. Head and heart stay. There's no reason to let him go, because there's still potential there for him. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think as well, he's like, I think has he kept extending at Kidderminster? Or was it he signed for a season when he signed? But
no, he had half a season, but I think he took an extension to play the full season there.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a good time of it. Like, part of their cup run, I think they've hit the playoffs, haven't they, as well?
I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised, because they've been there or thereabouts all season, to be fair to them.
Because I'm pretty sure I saw him put something on Twitter about it.
And also, he's made his way back into the team, because he did have a bit of a nasty injury at one point, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
And,
he did.
And he's fought his way back into the team.
Yeah, they finished 4th. So I don't know whether it's just one that go up and then it's the next 4. Not sure in the National League, North and South, but they've got Boston United. Oh, I think it's the same as in the National League. So 4th down to 7th are in the playoffs. And then the 3rd are also in the playoffs, but at like the next stage.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a weird one, that. But good luck to him. I think, it's a really good experience, and I think he'll come back a better player because of it. And it's worth keeping him. If he goes out on loan to the National League, if he's sort of on the fringes, then yeah, good. I don't see why you would get rid of him. Willis.
I kind of feel the same with that one. I think there's room to grow for him. And I think that Flynn is going to start looking to the younger players as well to try and have a bit of an influence on the squad next season, kind of start bringing them through. Because there are a few kind of, maybe not diamonds in the rough yet, but there are some players who are showing potential. Ronan May is one of those. Yeah. And I think, I don't see why give him another season, blood him in a bit and see what happens.
I agree. I think there's no harm. I'm also thinking that they probably have extensions on a lot of these younger players.
Yeah.
I think with Folks and Willis especially, they will probably have like a year in the club's favour, which they're not going to be the most expensive players. We're not going to be like hampering our budget by keeping them. And
no, of course not.
Another year, or even if they are out and there's no option, sign them for another season with an option for a further season, and then you've kind of got the you've got that kind of backup. And just looking how old they both are, actually.
I mean, they're both young, so there's no harm in just keeping them around for a bit longer.
Fox is 18 and Willis is 20. So I think they're worth keeping. Tom Leake, this is an interesting one because I don't know if we'll agree on this.
I think I would go head and heart, keep him, but I think it's a tighter one than the other two because this season coming is going to be make or break for him. He needs to get into the team and start playing every game. Otherwise, I don't think he's going to do it here with us.
I've just looked. He's 21, and I feel that if Flynn wanted him, he would have played by now.
Yeah. And
my heart says keep because I like the academy products, and I will always want academy players coming through because it's it's a bit of a fairy tale story. But my head says that, he didn't really make it under Taylor. He's not featured. I don't know if he's featured at all under Flynn. And there's your cat. And I'm
a different cat.
A different cat. Oh,
it's a black one.
I just feel that he's maybe just missed out. And at 21, there's other options and potentially other players, especially with Daniel staying. There's not going to be the room in the squad potentially. So I'm gonna say that he'll be released.
Interesting. Yeah, I think I was umming and ahhing about it, but I think he'd stay. But I can see where you're coming from.
So what are you locking in as your answer?
I'm going head and heart. He'll be retained.
Okay. And then finally on the sort of the younger players, Harry.
Easy head and heart, retain.
Yeah, I think I did question whether he would until Labadie got injured. And I felt that with Labadie getting injured, he's almost sealed in. Because I thought it was touch and go a little bit, but I think, I'd like to keep him. It was more a case of what the club were thinking. But I think, he, for me, stay.
Personally, I think it'd be down to him because I think he knows that he's good enough at this level to be playing almost every game because he is. Every time he plays, he does a really good job. He's very composed on the ball. He's always looking for the next pass. He can take the ball in stride. I think he's been very unlucky that there's been players ahead of him. And there's been a few plays. I think the signing of Earing really knocked Perry down the order, which is a shame. But Jack Earing was one that we needed to get in because he's a coup. Yeah. So I think if Perry wants to stay and fight for his place, then the club will be very happy with that.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely be offered a new contract. Whether he is... Sorry, I just saw Walsall had tweeted and I thought if they mid-recording announce it, then I wouldn't be happy. I think he'll be offered a deal. I'm pretty sure he'd stay. But I don't think it's going to be a long-term deal because I don't think he'll stay that length of time. Now I think we're getting into the more of the maybe kind of divides opinions. So I've just sort of gone down a list here, so there's no particular order. Rory Holden.
Heart says retain. Head says we might release him.
Okay.
Because I think that there are wages there that we could better use. And although he's a really good player, he's been out for so long now that I think the club are, they're losing money on him. and it's whether he's ever going to come back and be a player at that level.
I mean, I think the thing with the injuries is we have been quite unlucky with them. I have no doubt that the club have got some sort of insurance against players and injuries. I think, well, especially with the 2 ACLs like that, I would be surprised if the club don't have an insurance policy to cover wages or to cover almost like loss of whatever the terminology.
Yeah.
I agree. I think Flynn knows his ability because he's seen him play, not as Walsall manager. And I think that he would, I reckon that it would be a pay-as-you-play.
Yeah, I think that's the only way you could do it.
Or like it would probably be a lower wage, but more bonus driven. So yeah, I'm going to say stay. Are you going with release?
I'm going with heart says stay, head says release.
So you're locking in release?
Yeah, I'm locking in release. Unfortunately, I don't want to, but I think that I just don't think we're going to get the same player out of him. And it's cruel, but it's a waste of wages in a lot of ways financially.
Yeah. I'm going to miss the next one I've got on the list because I think this player will take up a lot of the discussion. Zach Mills.
Release on that one.
It just
Zach Mills he's just not very good.
And I don't think he's the type of player he's not a Flynn player. He's not like a flying wing back. So
no.
Yeah, I'd probably release as well, and I think head and heart says the same.
Yeah.
Lee Tomlin.
I think release, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think those injuries. I think we all knew that it was going to be a factor that might happen, and it has. Yeah. And I don't think he's done enough in the games that he did play to warrant a new contract, because he needed to provide goals and assists. And although he did some really good stuff, at the end of the day, his job is goals and assists, which he didn't deliver when he did play.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was a release, but he'll be, or no contract offered, but will return for pre-season type of thing.
Yeah.
Where almost if he can prove his fitness, then there'll be a deal there. But yeah. So, but I think he won't be offered a new deal outright. Is my offered. That is my prediction. So, well, we're releasing a few, aren't we? I don't know why I wrote this player down, but Matt Sadler. Obviously, he's retiring. I think we can take a minute out the retained release to kind of just say, obviously, it's not been a season where he's featured at all until the Swindon game, but I'm glad that he's still going to be around at the club. I think he's a real professional, and it's not a bad thing that he's going to stay in a coaching role.
Yeah, I think he's had a good couple of spells with the club, and he did well also for that game against Tranmere when himself and Neil McDonald took over. He showed that he had a bit of something about him as coaching staff, because they did well, and clearly Flynn has seen the same thing in him. Yeah. So I mean, I wish him all the luck in the world, and hopefully he can kind of go on to bigger and better things now.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that we're talking about with Leek, and that it's been a couple of managers that have sort of not really played it. Clark, Dutton, Taylor, and Flynn have all spoken highly of Sadler as a person, as a coach, and sort of have all kind of backed him as a coach. And I don't think that you can you can't look at that and go, oh, is he going to be good? If you've got 4 people that have openly spoken out about it, and also 4 people who have openly said that he's part of their plans in the coaching team, he's got to be doing something right behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I think that what Sadler has brought is he's brought a lot of character, and I think that's going to have been reflected very well in the dressing room.
Yeah.
I think even though he hasn't played, I think he'll have been a big part of motivating the lads and upholding professional standards. And I think that he's clearly showing that he has a good understanding of the game, which of course he's played so many games at this level, League One and League Two. You know, there's definitely an ability in him to be a coach and potentially a manager if he wants it.
Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see him sort of stick around for a couple of years and then, you know, either move up to a bigger club or higher up the leagues as a coach, or even, like you said, dabble in management. And to be quite honest, I wouldn't begrudge him leaving after. I mean, he's more than kind of like dedicated himself to the club. So yeah, good luck to Sadler with his sort of coaching. Now we've got the choice. I don't know what you want to delve into first. Do you want to talk about the players that are Walsall's that could be retained or released, or the potentials of signing any of the loanees? Which one do you want to dabble in first?
Shall we tackle the loanees?
Right. Again, I don't know why I really wrote him down, but Rushworth. We're obviously not going to be able to sign him.
No.
If we do, then obviously the Poundland deal is bigger than we all thought. But no, I think he's sort of taken to social media and thanked the club and thanked the fans and said he's really enjoyed the experience. It's one of those that, you know, we both, I'm assuming, wish him all the best for the future.
Yeah.
Hopefully see him in you know, Championship, Premier League, hopefully future England squad.
Yeah, I kind of spoke to him very briefly right at the beginning of the season, and he seemed like a really, really nice guy. And everything I've heard about him, he seems like a lovely lad. Yeah, he's got a bit of that goalkeeper bravado, like he likes to give it to the away fans and stuff. And
did you see the video after Port Vale?
Yeah, exactly. That's what springs to mind. And I think he's backed it up with brilliant performances, you know, time and time again. And I do think he'll be in the Championship next season. You know, Brighton are very good with their goalkeepers. They probably have the best goalkeeper academy in the country, so they'll get him in the right team.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's been doing well with the England under-21 setup.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wish him all the best, and I know he's got a big future.
Yeah. It is quite nice at times when you get these sorts of players that from day one you go, we're never going to keep them. And it's not, you kind of know that from day one, and you don't go through the season thinking, oh, do you reckon we can keep them? Because they're just a class above. And, you know, and also you can see the mistakes are due to age and a lack of experience, not through sheer talent. And yeah, he's talented, and good luck to him. I'll go Reece Devine next.
I wouldn't sign Reece Devine. I don't think he's that good.
No, I don't think we will make an effort to get him back on loan. I think he's still under contract at United. For me, I wouldn't. It's I mean,
he's had a few chances to show what he's about. I think his first game against Bristol Rovers, he did okay.
Yeah,
he was kind of a bit of a bright spark, but I think
he was a bit unlucky that he got injured quite early on.
Yeah.
Because I think he probably would have come in and basically started pretty much every game, but then the injury and then the kind of shade at wing back sort of revelation just didn't really help him get back into the squad. But I don't think he'll be in a Walsall shirt again.
He's got some ability going forward, but my big issue with him is that I've never seen him truly dominate his opposite number.
Yeah.
offensively or defensively. And I think defensively he really struggles because he's cost us a lot at times because he gets himself out of position and he gets beat.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot better players out there that we can get. I mean, I wish him all the best, and I'm sure he'll find a different club if he does want to go down that route. You know, he might go out on loan, he might choose to go to the conference, or try it again in League Two. But he's not the player for us.
Yeah. One player that is dividing opinion and starting to spark some rumours is Tyrese Shade. What's your view on Shade? What do you kind of think may happen? What do you want to happen? Out
of all the loanees, I think he's the one that potentially we would sign. And I think that he's having a little bit of fun with it. I know a lot of people have been kind of in his kind of messages, on his posts saying sign the contract, and he's given a bit of a cheeky, like he's liked it or something.
Yeah, he likes one. Someone put on like to rush work after he put like his almost like farewell message, or someone put please sign for us again, and like Shade liked it, and it was he's sort of been snooping on social media and doing that kind of thing where he's obviously. We had this discussion a couple of videos ago where we said it depends where he sees himself and whether he sees himself as a wing back. And I personally, I agree. I think out of all the loanees, he's the one that is most likely to sign a deal with us. He's already out of contract, or he will be out of contract in the summer. I don't see Leicester offering him another deal. I mean, I'm flicking between pages here. He's 21, and I think by now he'd be making strides higher up the leagues if Leicester were going to keep him. He's a Midlander, and I don't think that's going to go against us in any way. So yeah, if he sees himself playing as a wing back, or at least a lot of his time as a wing back, I think he'll stay, and I'd quite like him to stay. I think we know what we're getting from him. Flynn's getting more out of him. Yeah.
I'm very divided on it because it's not that I don't think he's a good player, but I don't think he's done enough. I mean, I was having a quick flick through the goal contributions for all the players, and he's scored 2 goals, I think, and he hasn't registered an assist this season.
No, he hasn't.
Which I would look to sign him up. But the thing is, I would not want him as the starting kind of player.
Yeah.
I'd like him as a kind of backup, and I'd like him to have I'd like to have sign someone really good at that wing back role, and have Shade as competition for it, and have them to kind of compete against each other to try and bring the most out of each other. But I wouldn't put all my eggs in a Shade basket.
I like that. So what are you saying in terms of the list? Are you saying that he will sign for us or he won't sign for us?
I'll be optimistic and say that he will sign for us. I don't think it's bad business if he does, but I think it's all down to what he thinks. Does he want to take that risk and go from kind of having loan spells, and is it working, isn't it, to committing himself to a club and saying, look, I might not be the main guy next season, but if I work hard, I can prove myself as the main guy.
Before we go and talk about the one that we do disagree on, I'm going to try and get you to see my perspective.
Okay.
Do you see Kiernan staying, and do you see him, obviously he is under contract as far as we're aware, do you see him being a striker under Flynn?
I would see Kiernan staying. I think Kiernan would be a utility man, personally. Okay. I think he's the type of player where you could just kind of put him anywhere across the kind of front four, and he might not start, or he might start if someone's injured, but he's there just to kind of provide a bit of continuity because he'll know the system, he'll know the style of play, and he'll do a solid job. I mean, he's had 10 goal contributions this season, 5 goals, 5 assists. That's not bad numbers.
Yeah.
So I think if he does stay, he'll be he won't be a bench warmer, but he will be on the bench, for large parts, but he'll be that man who can kind of do anything.
So with that in mind, would you keep the only striker that we have? I'm discounting Rodney because I just am. Do you think that we should or will sign George Miller?
I don't think we will, and I don't think we should. And I know me and you, we don't often disagree, but this one that's really split us.
It has split because I think we will try to, and I think we should. You go.
Right. So my issue with George Miller is that I said this to Rob before we started recording. He's scored 12 goals this season. 8 of them came in 1 month. So he's only had, I think, 1-2 assists, which, that could be improved upon. But goals-wise, that means he's had 7, 8, 9 months, the rest of the season, where he scored 4 goals. That is not good enough. And I think it comes down to a lot. I've seen him play a lot this season, and he's missed some absolute, ridiculously easy chances.
He has
the one against Bradford, where the ball came in and all he had was a tap in and he missed. He had a tricky one against Swindon.
Yeah, the one where the Bradford one, I forgot about that actually, where it was more difficult to do what he did.
Yeah. The one against Swindon where Kiernan's kind of shot against the goalkeeper. I think it's hit the bar. A different striker with quicker reflexes would have got that because all George needed was a touch and it was a goal, but he couldn't get onto it. Mansfield away, I think it was, where he's rounded the goalkeeper and then somehow hit a player on the line when he had the whole goal to aim at, where he could have squared it for Osadibe. Those are the type of chances that really come back to bite you, and he should have been heading towards 20 goals this season if he'd have put the easy chances away. And I don't want my striker missing those chances. I want someone who's just going to get the easy goals.
I completely see what you're saying, but I will respectfully disagree.
Go for it.
With all that in mind, he still scored a quarter of our league goals. And we've got a lot of business to do at that end of the pitch because of Wilkinson's injury, and because I don't think I don't see Rodney getting anywhere near that amount of goals.
No.
So for me, we need at least 2 strikers. Probably 2 that we sign as ours and a loanee that will almost bridge a gap, provide competition as a backup with Rodney, and then can almost fade away once, touch wood, Wilkinson comes back. Hopefully Wilkinson could be back late January, early February, depending on how his rehab goes. So, loan to January and 2 other signings. Now, for me, the reason I keep Miller is because signing any striker is a risk.
Yeah.
And I think, yes, we know what his faults are, but we also know what he can. We know what he can and can't do. He's been fully evaluated, and I don't think it's a bad thing having George Miller in our squad. I also think that Flynn really likes him. And I think that is one of the reasons that Flynn will be pushing for the club to sign him. Flynn's spoken very highly of him on multiple times, even when he's not scored. And I think Miller's work rate and energy, if we have a better quality team that obviously we're hoping that we will have, I think more goals will come. It's no surprise that when the team was playing well, he was scoring. Obviously, you need a striker that can score when the team aren't playing well, but I think that will come. So for me, we got 12 goals out of him in a really mixed bag of a season. I think we can get the same out of him next season. And I just think that with all the business that we're going to need to do, signing George Miller isn't a bad bit of business.
No, so I mean, you do make a good point.
Thanks.
Yeah, and
I also agree with what you said. With the chances he had and missed, he should easily have been on like 16, 17 goals.
Yeah.
But then would he be in League Two?
This is it. But yeah, there is an argument to keep him. And I wouldn't be annoyed if we kept him. I'd understand it. But I wouldn't. I'd still want a marquee striker, because the thing is that budget, yeah, he's on championship wages, which has been a concern the entire time. You know, he's going to be on upwards of £2,000 a week.
Also, interestingly, though, about that, because that was one of my kind of hesitations, he will be getting a pay cut because Barnsley are relegated.
Okay.
Because that's just what happens. So, yes, he's been on a championship wage. According to Transfer Market, he's out of contract there this summer.
Yeah.
Although I do feel that that's debatable, because I've heard mixed things about when his contract's up.
Yeah.
But if he's released from there, but if he stays and he does have another year, he will be on a lesser wage, because I believe that's just a pretty standard thing that clubs get relegated, and a way of managing their bill is that you do have a pay cut for getting relegated.
If we can negotiate him into a kind of contract where the club feels that they're paying the right amount for the player that he is, and they're not paying over the odds per week for someone just because, you know, last season he was in the championship or whatever. Then that's fair enough. I can see that as kind of, because I just want that budget, those wages, to be going on a striker who's a marquee kind of signing. But I don't mind if those funds are kind of being used for that and we keep Miller.
Yeah, I also feel that we should keep him because his track record, okay, it's not glittering, but we are the club that he has made the second most appearances for. He's had one season on loan. Like, he's a bit of a journeyman, aged 23. He's only played for one. So Bury, he played 51 games and scored 16 goals. Us, he's played 47, scored 12. Bradford, I don't know the breakdown of substitute appearances and not. But the only other times is Bradford, where he played 2 games fewer than he did here and scored 6, set up 7, but played like 900 minutes. 1,100 minutes fewer. So I'm guessing it was more of a substitute. So he's across those 3 clubs where he's played over 40 games, he's got a fairly consistent goal contribution.
One thing I will say in your kind of defence is that I had a look, and let me just get the exact stats up. So where are we? So we're looking at the League Two scorers.
Yeah, he's done quite well.
Where is he? His minutes per goal ratio is 261 minutes per goal, which, when you look at everyone else, it's not bad, to be fair. Yeah. I mean, you take out the likes of kind of Dom Telford, Matt Stevens, maybe McCurdy. You're looking at the kind of the 200s. Yeah. So I think somewhere between kind of 200 and 250 is about where you'd want to be for a solid but not exceptional League Two striker. And I think he's not a million miles away from that. You know, even like someone like Andy Cook is 255. You know, Jamie Proctor 180. I think Jack Diamond I think Harrogate 266. So he's there or thereabouts. So his ratio, his numbers aren't the worst.
I am also looking at that. We should definitely go for Davis Keeler Dunn.
I was thinking that as well because
Like, looking
he's
at that list,
a poacher. He is.
yeah, and 15 goals for Oldham, considering what's happened there. But yeah, for me, I get where you're coming from, but I think, if he could hit my laptop, if he could score more goals, he wouldn't be in League Two. I think as far as League Two strikers go, he's got a good work rate. I think if he was to stay on, let's say, a 2-year deal and is with us for 3 seasons, it's by far the longest he's spent at a club.
Yeah.
And I think just having a bit of a home wouldn't be a bad thing. So
if we can get a marquee striker in, a big name player who's just kind of almost guaranteed goals, we can get another striker in, maybe it's a loan, but someone who's got a bit of kind of chat about them, from Luke Pearce is one that we're being linked with from Southampton, his former Warsaw Academy. We get him in, then Miller's got kind of 2 people in front of him. Then I'm okay with that because I think Miller can then try and fight for his place in the squad, and it might challenge him to be better.
Yeah,
and maybe that's what he needs.
In terms of that little competition, I had put no, you wouldn't sign him.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair because I personally, if it was up to me, I wouldn't, but I wouldn't be offended if we did because I can see the reasons behind it.
Yeah. You'd be offended if Derek Osser you're signed, but and this is what I kind of feel that we've had some bad strikers.
Yeah,
and Miller, I know he came in and didn't really have the fanfare, but he's I think considering everything that we've had in the last few years, signing Miller's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point about him being a known quantity. I think that's never a bad thing when you've got someone who you know what you're going to get from them, and what you're going to get from them is, say, like a kind of a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Then there's room to grow with that.
Yeah. And also I think kind of settling in a system, the whole squad will settle in a system, and I think we can get something out of him. Now that only leaves 2 more players to our knowledge left. Both have actually been topics of conversation for us. First, I'm going to leave the big one till last. Mm-hmm. First up, Jack Rose.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoke about this a couple of times, haven't we? And I like him, but I don't think he's our number 1 goalkeeper next season.
No.
So I think he'd have to play second fiddle again. And it's almost like the same kind of shade conversation. Is that what he wants to do?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I could go either way on that one because I think it's down to him because I'd like to have him next season. But like I say, I wouldn't like to have him be number 1.
If he was signed, if he stays, which I personally think the club will get rid, or I think it'll be a situation where they'll have gauged his reaction or gauged what he wants and either not offered a deal because he won't stay, or they'll offer it knowing that he's probably going to go. He's like 27 now, and I sort of feel that for Walsall, if you're not going to make him number 1, probably let him go and find a club where he'll play.
Yeah.
Because I do think he's been unlucky. I mean, I know Flynn wanted to play Rushworth and try and finish as high up the league as possible, but that's the only thing that one of the only things I disagree with Flynn on is I would have played Rose for a few games.
Yeah.
Because there was no chance of signing Rushworth.
No. And I think we all knew that as soon as we got him on loan and watched him play a few times, we were like, there's no chance. And it was nice. It was also kind of nice just watching a player just be good.
Yeah.
But you're not going to sign them, so you don't have to worry about it. You just enjoy them while they're there.
Yeah.
But I think with Rose, it's a lot to do with how he views himself as a player. and whether he wants to go and chase first starting position.
I don't know whether they'll offer him a deal or not, but I'm saying that he won't stay.
Yeah, I think they'll offer him a deal, but I think he'll probably leave.
I'm going to write this down.
Mm.
So you think offered a deal and won't stay?
Yeah, I think offered a deal, but he'll go and chase first team football somewhere else.
I'm going to try and get a point and just say that he's just going to be straight up released.
Fair enough. Go for it.
And then finally, Osadibe.
Woo! This is the it's a conversation everyone's got an opinion on, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And everyone seems to have a different opinion. Some people love him, some people hate him, some people think he's had a great season, some people think he's had a poor season.
I don't actually know what I feel about him because it just changes all the bloody time. I think Flynn will give him a season because of his comment about when he does, I can't remember the exact wording, but when he does what I ask him to do, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
But
also,
Flynn wants to commit to that and actually take the Osadibe project.
I like Osadibe. I absolutely see the faults in him, and I'll be the first to admit when he's been poor. But I also see the brilliance in him, and that's what I like. I always like that in a footballer.
Yeah,
someone who has the ability to be better than anyone else on the pitch. He might not always show it, but it's there. And one key thing that no one talks about, he's had 7 assists this season in the league, which is not bad.
His goal return has been pretty decent.
He's had 3 goals, 7 assists. That's 10 goal contributions from 10 right wing back, a little bit of centre mid. That's not bad. That's probably about what you'd expect from a right wing back, and a kind of 10. So I don't mind that at all. And I think that if you look at kind of people around him, say Kiernan's the only person who's kind of played consistently that much, other than maybe Shade. You say Shade's got 2 or 3 goal contributions. Kiernan's got 10. Osadibe's got 10.
Actually,
so he's right.
Osadibe, are we on about the league or altogether?
League.
League, he's got 11. He's got 8 assists.
I think he's got 8 assists now.
Yeah.
On BBC, they're reporting 7. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so there you go. But anyway, so that's 10, 11 goal contributions. That's good. Those are good numbers. Might not be outstanding numbers, but they're solid. So for me, I would keep him. I'd say definitely get someone in to compete with him, someone who's more consistent. But there aren't many players in League Two that can reach the heights that he can when he's on song.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard finding someone who can do that.
I would say that overall his form's improved under Flynn.
Yeah.
Is enough for me to want to keep him because it's that comment of when he does what I want him to, or what I ask him to do, he's brilliant. And I think that Flynn's right. You're right with your opinion on that. On his day when he's firing, I mean, like Port Vale, he was brilliant.
Yeah,
and I think he'll be given a season because I don't think Flynn will want to commit to like a 2-year deal.
Yeah,
because it could go wrong. But again, it's one of those where we know what we're going to get from him, like with Miller.
Yeah.
But we'll see. So looking at that list, we would we both keep Folks, both keep Perry, both Willis. I'm saying that Leake will go. You're saying he'll stay. You're saying Holden will go. I'm saying he's staying. Both saying Osadibe will stay. Mills and Rose and Tomlin will all go. Shade will sign. Devine won't, and I've said Miller will. So, there's a few players there that will be kind of off. That's obviously alongside Sadler retiring and Rushworth leaving.
Yeah.
So a busy summer ahead.
I think we're both pretty close to what we think. It's only one or two that we disagree on, and they are divisive players.
Yeah.
And that comes down to personal preference. So I think what we've got there is probably what you're going to be looking at when retained and released does come out.
Any players that you see, I mean, it's not like Walsall to openly put people on a transfer like on the market. But do you see any players potentially being shown the exit door that are under contract?
The only player that I could say that I would think that Flynn probably doesn't want is Rodney, but I don't think there's anyone who does want him. So I don't think it'd be that easy to get rid.
Wouldn't surprise me if went out on if they managed to ship him out on loan to a National League squad. That's the only thing I can see.
The only other thing is you put him on loan to like one of the newbies in League Two, and say have him because he won't play against us, so that's fine. And see what he does. But I don't, because he wasn't a Flynn signing; he was a Matt Taylor signing that was brought forward.
Well, he was a
Fullerton signing.
And that tells us everything we need to know about that.
And there you go. So I think that he could be, but I think because we signed him in January, it wouldn't be like us to ship him out immediately.
Not unless we got what we paid for.
Yeah. I mean, we can send him on loan as long as we've got enough cover in attack. If not, I don't think he's a bad player just to kind of have milling around the squad, just kind of making 10 minutes here or there.
Yeah,
and see what he can do at the late stages of a game because he's very fast and he's not terrible, but I just don't think he's first team quality.
Yeah, I agree. I think Many Essays done enough.
Yeah,
to kind of be in plans for next season, or at least, like you said, be there as a backup for next season. Also, because he was he involved in the kit launch?
Yeah, he was. He was in the third shirt.
That they're going to be around.
Yeah, because it was Kinsella, Rodney, and Maniasse, wasn't it? Those were the three.
Was Rodney?
Yeah, Rodney was in the away shirt.
Aberdeen was also in which the kits? I can't remember.
It was a third kit Aberdeen was in for one of them.
Yeah,
the one that looks like a Poundland uniform from the back.
It does, and it's a shame because it's actually quite nice if it wasn't for
if they got rid of that bit at the back, it would be better.
Yeah. I think while we're briefly talking about it, I know that people are throwing shit Walsall's way, but I think the Poundland deal's a really smart bit of business. I think they are a huge company. They are a local company, and they will see the benefit of having a local club as like being sponsoring a local club.
Yeah, I at first I didn't love it, and to be honest, it's not the brand I would have chose, but there are a lot of plus points to it, and I think everyone will kind of just warm to it after a while. It was just the kind of immediate shock of it's Poundland,
and with Daniel signing quite quickly afterwards, I think don't know whether there was any money from it that went towards it. You don't know, but it kind of was timed well. And I've got to admit, I'm surprised Daniel's staying.
The one thing I would say, though, it would have been a lot better, in my opinion, if the shirts would have been nicer. But I'm not a fan of the shirts for next season, and I don't think that's helped the situation. The shirts don't look great, and they've got Poundland on them, and it was a combination of the two.
Yeah. What was your views on Daniels staying?
I'm very happy with Daniels.
Were you surprised?
No, to be honest, because I think he had a bit of a tough time at Crewe, and he's been excellent for us. And I think it just makes sense. It just makes sense that we keep him with us, and we give him a home.
Totally agree that we should keep him around. It was just, I just had a vision of another player that comes short term.
Yeah, but I think he knows himself that he's not quite at the level League One is, but he's a really, really good League Two player. And I think that because he's found his feet at this club and he's playing well, I don't think he needs to risk going somewhere else.
Yeah. Right. I think that's about it.
I think it is as well. I think we've covered everything we could have covered.
Yeah, we'll probably do a Q&A style video in a few weeks' time. Obviously, once the Retain release, which we're expecting to come out in a couple of days' time.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. As we're recording this, it is at the moment 10 to 5 on Monday. Hopefully it doesn't come out at 5 o'clock because I will be fuming. But yeah, and then hopefully as well, we'll have a couple of players through the door to talk about. So I think we'll probably hang off until a couple have come through the door that we can start talking about, and then seeing what else we need in the summer.
Yeah, we'll cover all the kind of potential signings and stuff in the kind of Q&A, and kind of have that as its own thing, because at the moment it's still very early days.
Yeah, and please from me, just if they're like random EFL hubs or EFL transfers and all of these rumor pages, please don't just listen to them, because 99% of it's rubbish. I don't know if I kept the list from January of who I made a short list and then got bored of players that Walsall were going to sign in January, according to one.
Yeah, anything from transfer like hub.
I got bored after one, and it was Zach Brunt, and I don't even know where this guy is now. There he goes, Zach Brunt. Is at Notts County.
Oh, great.
And signed there on loan this season. So
I always go back to a few years ago when we were someone rumoured that we were going to sign Emmanuel Ibu.
Oh, what a day!
Play for Arsenal. That was my favourite. That was.
What a day! And was it George Boateng as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Oh. Right. Anyway, hopefully we won't get those mental rumours. Harley, I'll speak to you soon.
I'll speak to you soon, Rob.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.